Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shata Rashata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupara Shata Rashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Mahabhagavat Srila Goraksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abrishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki jai. Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. The Gaudiya Bhashya of Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hari Bo, Brinda Didi and Ganga Mataji and Sudevi Didi. Dandavat pranams to you three. So, today we're going to be reading about Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura's, well, first, the snake charmer is going to glorify Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura. We're going to finish that Leela. And then afterwards, there'll be a description of the opposition from many of the people in Navadvip at that time against the devotees. And about specifically regarding their loud chanting of Harinam. And so there's one person who what do you say? Anyways, he objects to Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura's chanting loudly, and then Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura glorifies the holy name. I think that's what it is. I didn't really read it carefully, but we'll see today. But so I think maybe we can sing something in glorification of Harinam for today's reading, because today's all going to be about the glories of Harinam. What would be a good song to sing? Maybe Narad Muni Bhajai Vina, Radhika Ramanami. Let's do that one. Narad Muni Bhajai Vina. Okay. The great sage Narad plays his veena, which vibrates the name Radhika Ramana, and the holy name immediately appears amidst the devotees. When the current of nectar of the holy names of the Lord streams profusely and enters both ears, the devotees dance continuously, their hearts filling with joy. The stream of sweet nectar maddens the people of the universe. Some weep, some dance, and others become fully intoxicated within their minds. The five-headed Lord Shiva, embracing Narad, roars repeatedly out of prema. while he who sits upon a lotus flower, Lord Brahma, dances enthusiastically and calls out, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thousand-headed Lord Shesh, feeling supreme happiness, sings Hari, Hari. By the influence of the holy name, the entire universe becomes maddened, and everyone tastes the ras of the holy name. The servant, Bhakti Vinod, prays at the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. May the holy names of Sri Krishna fulfill all my desires by manifesting upon my tongue. Sorry. One second, just making sure that I have the sound thing working. Yes. Okay. We'll just sing this one time through quickly because, yeah, I'd like to. I've been, trying to complete these stories, and so that's why we have a long reading day today as well. Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name Anamaya Mani Udita Hoy Bhakat Gita Same Amiyadhara Varishe Ghana Shravana Jugale Agiya Bhakat Jana Sagane Nache Bhuriya Apana Hiya Madhuri Pura Asava Poshi Matai Jagat Ajane Kehoba Kande Kehoba Nache Keho Mate Mane Mane Panchavadana Narade Dhori Preme Rasagana Horol Kamalasana Nachiya Bole Bolo Bolo Hari Bon Sahasranana Param Sukhe Hari Hari Boli Hogai Nama Prabhave Mathila Vishwa Nama Rasa Sabe Pai Shri Krishna Nama Rasane Spuri Puralo Amara Ash Shri Krishna Nama Rasane Spuri Puralo Amar Hoyasha Shirupapade Jachaye Iha Bhakati Vinota Das Shirupapade Jachaye Iha Bhakati Vinota Das Narad Muni Pajai Vina Radhika Ramana Name Anamaya उदिता होय भगत गीत सामे। Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jaya Hari Nama Hare Nama Jaya Hari Nama Jaya Hari Nama Hari Nama Jaya Hari Nama Jaya Haridāsa Ṭhākura, Haridāsa Ṭhākura, Haridāsa Jaya Haridāsa Ṭhākura, Haridāsa Ṭhākura, Haridāsa Jai Rupa Goswami Prabhu, Rupa Goswami Prabhu, Rupa Goswami, Jai Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Vinod, Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva, Hari Bol Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol Hari Bol Hare Krishna, Kishore Krishna Prabhu and Niri Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji, Dandavat pranams to you both, and Subhadra Didi, Hare Krishna, and Champak Didi, Hare Krishna. Okay, so now continuing our reading. Oh, let's first do the Mangala Charan. 1 second, let me just open that up. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ajanulambita bhujau kanakavadato sankirtanaikapitaro kamalayataksho vishwambharo dvijavaro yugadharmapalo vande jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Namastrikala Satyaya Jagannatha Sutaya Cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakalatraya Te Namaha. avatirno sakarunyo parichinno sarishvaro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Dvau Bhrataro Bhaje Sajayati Vishuddha Vikrama Kanakabha Kamalayate Kshana Varajanu Vilambi Sharbhujo Bahudha Bhakti Rasa Bhinartaka Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandra Jayati Jayati Kirtis Tasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhrityas Tasya Vishvesha Murte Jayati Jayati Nrityang Tasya Sarva Priyanam Adi Shri Caitanya Priya Goshtir Charane Ashesha Prakare Mor Danda Paraname Tabe Vando Shri Krishna Chaitanya Maheshwar Navadvipe Avatar Nama Vishwambhar Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvam Nayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshai Kshiptashtakamaditaranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Papanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare. All right. Let's read this. The glories of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata and Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura from Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita. Ore mura loko shuno Chaitanya manga Chaitanya mahima jate jani beshaka Krishna lila bhagavate kohe ved vyas Chaitanya lila ravyas vrindavana dasa koilo Chaitanya manga Jahan rashavane nashe sarvaya manga Chaitanya nitar jate jani e mahima Jate jani Krishna bhakti siddhante rasima Bhagavate jata bhakti siddhante rasar Likhiya chen iha jani koriya udhar Chaitanya mangala shune jadi pashandi javan Sheho maha vaishnava hoy tatakhan Manushe rachite nare aiche granta dhanya Vrindavana dasa mukhe vakta Shri Caitanya Vrindavana dasa pade koti namaskar Aiche granta korite ho tarila sansar Narayani Chaitanya uchishta bhajan Tar garbe janmila Shri dasa Vrindavan तार की अद्भुत चैतन्य चरित वर्णन जहाँ रश्रवाने शुद्ध कोयल त्रिभुवन सहजे विचित्र मधुर चैतन्य विहार वृंदावन दास मुखे अमृते धार. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet. And when they are described by Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur, they become like a shower of nectar. All right, so let me open up the file. is it? The rest of Ādi-khaṇḍa, that's it. Okay, so let's read the rest of this, what is it? The Katha Sar by Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. Alright, so after that whole lila of Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura getting beaten in the 22 marketplaces, and then they threw him in the Ganga, and then he came out on the other side and continued on to Phulia. So then when the Brahmanas of Phulia again saw Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura, they became extremely joyful. Out of humility, Haridas said that he said that only by good fortune had he received a token punishment for his great offense of hearing blasphemy of Lord Vishnu. Haridas then began to chant the holy names 300,000 times a day within a cave on the bank of the Ganga. A fierce poisonous snake lived within that cave. Therefore, no one could remain there for a long time due to feeling a burning sensation from the intense poison. When the snake bite doctors came to know of the snake's presence within the cave, they requested Haridas to leave the place. When, on everyone's request, Haridas consented to leave the cave the following day, the snake came out of its hole, and he left the cave that very evening. One day, in a rich man's house, a snake charmer was glorifying Krishna's pastimes at Kaliya Daha. As soon as Haridas heard the glories of Krishna, he fell unconscious on the ground. Pure ecstatic transformations manifested in his transcendental body. Everyone began to take dust from Haridas's feet and smear it all over their bodies. Seeing this, a cheating low-class Brahmana, he began to display artificial emotions by imitating Haridas in order to attain more prestige. When the snake charmer understood the duplicity of the pseudo-Brahmana, he severely beat him with a stick. Then the Brahman helplessly left that place. The snake charmer, he left crying out, "Oh father, oh mother, please save me, I'm dying." Right, that's what we read. The snake charmer then explained to everyone the authenticity of Haridas and the duplicity of the pseudo-Brahmana. And then, so that was, and we're going to be reading, I think like the first third of what we're reading is going to be the snake charmer's glorification of Haridāsa Ṭhākura. And then after that we'll read, the atheists at that time were opposed to the loud chanting of the holy names. They even considered that as a result of the loud chanting of the holy names, they would face famine and their peaceful lives would be disturbed. When a so-called Brahmin from the village of Harinadi related his concocted views opposed to loud chanting, Haridas established the supremacy. He established the supremacy and the anartha-destroying potency of loud chanting through the scriptural reasoning. There should be a hyphen there. This atheistic so-called Brahmana did not believe the statements of Haridas that were based on scriptures, and he didn't accept Haridas, and he accepted Haridas as belonging to a particular caste. He considered him to be a Muslim. A few days after swearing that he would cut off the nose and ears of Haridas if his words were proven false, the very nose and ears of that fallen Brahmin fell off due to smallpox. Haridas then left for Navadvip with a desire to associate with the devotees, headed by Advaita Acharya. Okay, so what verse? 228. Oh yes, Govinda Saha, Hare Krishna. We went to see the darshan, this place Phulia that we've been reading about, where Haridāsa Ṭhākura sat in the cave and all these different places. So Govinda Saha sent me, I haven't seen it yet myself actually. Oops, Govinda with a B. Let's take a look at. So Govinda has said that the place of the snake is still preserved. Let's see this. I'm gonna make the screen. Oh wait, I'm not sharing my sounds though. My internet's going slow for some reason. Anyways, I will. Okay, well, anyways, while that's downloading, we can go here. 228. Okay, so now here another wonderful incident that was narrated by the king of the snakes. One day a snake charmer was dancing in the courtyard of one wealthy man. His associates played the mridanga and a flute used for snake charming, as they loudly sang on all sides of the snake charmer. The snake charmer was absorbed under the influence of some mantras that he was chanting. By providence, Haridāsa came there and began to watch the snake charmer from the side. By the power of the mantras chanted by the snake charmer, the king of snakes had appeared in the body of the snake. The king of snakes had appeared in the body of the snake charmer and was happily dancing. So, and then we read that the Nagaraj refers to Shesh, the devotee of Lord Vishnu. That's Ananta Shesh. Ananta, or it can also refer to Vasuki. But I think we more often read it as referring to Ananta Shesh. The snake charmer was loudly and sweetly singing about Krishna's dance in the Kaliya lake. As Haridāsa heard the glorious pastimes of the Lord, he fell unconscious to the ground and his breath stopped. When he regained consciousness some moments later, he roared loudly and began to dance in ecstasy. Seeing Haridāsa's ecstatic mood, the snake charmer stopped his dancing and stood off to the side. Thakur Haridāsa rolled on the ground, and wonderful ecstatic symptoms like hairs standing on end, crying, and shivering became manifest in his body. Haridāsa was fully absorbed in ecstatic love after hearing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and tears of love flowed from his eyes. Wow, it's still loading. It's so strange why it's going so slow. Okay, so then everyone surrounding Haridāsa joyfully began chanting Krishna's glories, while the snake charmer respectfully stood to the side with folded hands. After Haridāsa returned to external consciousness, the snake charmer again began to dance. Everyone was overwhelmed with joy after seeing Haridāsa's ecstatic absorption. They all eagerly took the dust from his footprints and smeared it on their bodies. One pseudo-Brahmin who was in the audience thought, "I will also dance today." Even an illiterate fool who dances like he's in ecstasy is greatly respected by common people. Thinking in this way, he immediately crashed to the ground and became motionless. As soon as the pseudo-Brahmin fell near the dancing snake charmer, the snake charmer became angry and began severely beating the Brahmin with a stick. After being beaten with a stick all over the body, the anguished Brahmin ran away, screaming, "Father, Father!" There, now it's done. Let's just finish reading. Okay. Yeah, so Śrīla Saraswati Thakur says that as soon as that pseudo-Brahmana deceitfully exhibited artificial sentiments by which one is naturally bound to slip and fall, the snake charmer understood his deceitfulness and saw him as a disturbance and obstruction to his own dancing, and therefore began to beat him severely. He incessantly, severely, and mercilessly beats that atheist on the shoulders, the head, and other bodily limbs. Due to the excessive beating, That fallen pseudo-Brahmin ultimately left that place shouting, "Oh father, save me! Oh mother, save me! I'm dying!" Thereafter, the snake charmer happily continued on with his dance, as everyone there watched in astonishment. Later, they all folded their hands and asked the snake charmer, "Please explain to us why you beat the Brahmana, and why did you stand aside with folded hands when Haridas was dancing?" Then the serpent devotee of Vishnu spoke through the mouth of the snake charmer about the glories of Haridas. Ananta Shesh spoke through the mouth of the snake charmer. He said, "You have asked me about a mysterious subject. Although it is confidential, I must disclose it. You all felt great reverence for Haridas when you saw his ecstatic dance. Seeing this, that pseudo-Brahmin fell to the ground in an envious imitation of Haridas. Who has the power to enviously disturb the pleasure of my dancing? Out of audacity, he tried to imitate Haridas, and therefore I punished him accordingly. He presented himself as an important person by imitating some religious sentiments." Okay, so then we didn't get time to read this commentary, so I'll read it now. Gaudiya Bhashya by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Like this so-called Brahmana, many atheistic hypocrites with the ill motive, "People will respect me as great or a devotee." Such people with these kinds of ill motives exhibit various reflections of artificial emotions in order to cheat people. In this regard, one should discuss the definitions of Bhakavrata and Vaidalavrata, as found in the following verses. Ado drishtir na kritika svarta sadhana tatpara shatvo mithya vinitascha bhakavrata paro dvija. An impostor Brahmana, the follower of Bhakavrata, the vow of the duck, is he who always looks down in order to make a show of humility, who is cruel, and who pretends to be submissive. Dharmadvaji sadalubdash chadmiko lokadambhaka vaidala vratiko geyo hingsra sarva bisandhika. One should know that the Dharmadvaji, one who makes that means one who holds a banner of Dharma, but it means like one who makes a false show of being religious. They wave the banner of Dharma, but really they aren't religious at all. So one should know that the Dharmadvaji, the person who always desires others' wealth, the duplicitous person, the person who cheats, the envious person, and the person who blasphemes are hypocritical Brahmanas who follow Vaidhala Vrati, the vow of a cat. Actually, and then so Ananta Shesh continues, actually, that arrogant and deceitful Brahmana has no love for Krishna. To achieve the devotional service of Lord Krishna, one has to be free from duplicity. Gaudiya Bhashya. It is to be understood that those who artificially imitate the transcendental activities of the Mahabhagavat Vaishnav with the desire to accumulate mundane fame as a devotee, they have no attitude of service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Although in order to gratify their own material senses, they proudly accept the dress of devotees, their artificial external exhibition of devotional symptoms is simply meant to cheat people. Pure devotion to Krishna is present wherever the symptoms of Dharmadvajis, Vaidala-vratis, and Bhakavratis are absent, and pride, duplicity, and extraneous motives are present wherever such faults are found. I think this is where we read up to yesterday, right? Yes, that is. Okay, so let's read from this point on. Eje dekila nachilen Haridas, O nrita dekile sarva bandha hoy nash. Haridasa nritte Krishna nachen apane, Brahmanda pavitra hoy, O nrita darshane. One who sees Haridas dancing is freed from all bondage. When Haridas dances, Lord Krishna personally dances himself. Krishna himself personally dances. Thus, the whole universe can be purified by seeing his dance. Gaudiya Bhashya. The material bondage of those who see dancing performed for the pleasure of Krishna by Vaishnavas who are inclined to the service of the Lord is destroyed. The material bondage of those people who see that is destroyed. Whereas the exhibition of artificial characteristics by prakrit sahajas simply increases their miseries of material bondage. By seeing dancing performed for the pleasure of Krishna by Vaishnavas, non-duplicitous emotions befitting a Vaishnava are certainly awakened. And the fraudulent endeavors of the hypocritical imitators simply yields evil results in this world. When Thakur Haridas exhibits the transcendental pastime of dancing, then, being controlled by his non-duplicitous love, Krishna Chandra, along with his associates, also dance. By seeing the transcendental dancing, many fortunate persons of this world become free from heaps of sinful reactions accumulated over many lifetimes, and thus achieve piety that leads to devotional service. They get Bhakti-unmukhi Sukriti. Bhakti-unmukhi Sukriti. I think we'll watch the video after we read about after the Snake Charmer finishes glorifying Haridas Ṭhākura, so that we don't break the flow. Uhana she yogya pada Haridasanam Niravadi Krishna Chandra Hridaye Uhan. His name Haridas is appropriate, for Lord Krishna constantly dwells in his heart. Gaudiya Bhashya. For an explanation of the second line of this verse, one should see Śrīmad Bhagavatam 9.4 verses 63 to 68. Sarva bhutta vatsala sabarupakari Ishvarer shange prati janme avatari. He is affectionate to all living beings, and he is always engaged in their welfare. He accompanies the Lord wherever he incarnates. Gaudiya Bhashya. Haridas Thakur is affectionate to all living entities and the benefactor for both animate and inanimate beings. He incarnates wherever the Supreme Lord incarnates. In other words, he is a constant associate of the Lord's pastimes. Unhe she niraparada Vishnu Vaishnavete Swapne o uhana drishti na jai vipate. He is never offensive to Vishnu or the Vaishnavas, and even in a dream, he does not deviate from the proper path. Gaudiya Bhashya. Since Haridas Thakur is a direct associate of the Lord, he cannot commit any offenses against Vishnu or the Vaishnavas. He can never deviate from his endeavor to serve Krishna like an ordinary human being, even in a dream. Tilarda uhana shanga jai jiver hoy she avashya pai Krishna pada parmashray. One who associates with Haridas for even a fraction of a moment will certainly attain shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. If by the good fortune resulting from accumulated pious activities over many lifetimes, a living entity associates with Haridas Thakur for even a short time, he will certainly achieve the lotus feet of the Lord. Brahma Shiva Haridasa Hena Bhakta Shanga Niravadi Korite Chitter Boro Ranga. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva always desire to associate with a devotee like Haridas. Gaudiya Bhashya. The demigods headed by Brahma always hanker to become glorious by obtaining the association of a Mahabhagavat devotee like Haridas. Jatikul Shaba Nirarthaka Pujaite Janmilen Nichakule Prabhur Agyate. On the order of the Lord, Haridas was born in a low-class family to show that birth in high caste or good family are useless. I was just looking at a song by Śrīla Ṭhākura. How does it go? Shoot, I forgot what the title of it, but it's on this topic. Gaudiya Bhashya. Due to pious and sinful activities, the conditioned souls take birth in higher or lower species of life. This is simply an example of the fruits of their karma. From the spiritual point of view, there is no value at all in the prestige resulting from mundane caste and ancestry. By the supreme will of the all-auspicious Lord, Haridāsa Ṭhākura appeared in a Muslim family in order to preach the supreme truth to the entire world. Adham kulete jadi Vishnu bhakta hoy, tatapi she puja sarva shastre koi. If a devotee of the Lord is born in a low-class family, he is still worthy of worship. This is the verdict of the scriptures. Gaudiya Bhashya. Taking birth in superior or inferior families indicates the superiority or inferiority of the fruits of one's karma. The living entity is constitutionally a devotee of Lord Vishnu, and although by temporary familial identification he may be inferior or superior, he is actually superior or inferior in proportion to his devotion to the Lord. Yeah, that's the only, we only gauge where somebody's level by their devotion, not by what family they're born in. This is loudly proclaimed in all Vaishnava literatures. It is not a fact that one who is born in a lower family is not qualified for devotional service to Vishnu. A Vaishnava born in a lower family is a qualified Brahmana, a spiritual master, and he is worshipable by all non-devotees born in higher class families. Uttama kulete janme Shri Krishne na bhaje, kule tar ki koribe narakete maje. This is I think I've heard this verse before. And if someone is born in a high-class family but does not worship the lotus feet of Shri Krishna, then his high birth is useless and he falls to hell. Gaudiya Bhashya. Even after taking birth in a higher family as a result of pious activities, if one is averse to the service of the Lord, he will certainly go to hell. This is confirmed in the following statement of Chamasa, one of the 9 Yogendras, to Maharaj Nimi in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11.5.3. Ya esham purusham shakshad atma prabhavam ishvaram na bhajantya vajananti sthanar brashta patantyada. If any of the members of the 4 varnas and 4 ashrams fail to worship or intentionally disrespect the personality of Godhead, who is the source of their own creation, they will fall down from their position into a hellish state of life. Esha Veda Vakyer Shakshi Dekhaite Janmilen Haridāsa Adhama Kulete. Haridāsa thus took birth in a low-class family to prove the words of the scriptures. Prahlada Jeheno Daita Kapi Hanuman E Mata Haridāsa Nicha Jati Nam Haridāsa Sparsha Bancha Kore Devgan Ganga O Banchen Haridaser Majan. Haridāsa was born in a low-class family, just as Prahlad was born in a demoniac family, and Hanuman was born in a monkey family. The demigods desire the touch of Haridāsa, and even Mother Ganga desires that Haridāsa immerse himself in her waters. Wow, beautiful. Gaudiya Bhashya. Just as Sri Prahlad appeared in a demon family that was naturally averse to Vishnu, and Sri Hanumanji appeared in a family of animals, by the supreme will of the Lord, Thakur Haridas appeared in a low-class Muslim family. There's one song written by Premananda Das Thakur, Eman ki kore baranakul. That's very appropriate for this. Maybe we should sing that song, actually. Maybe we can sing it tomorrow. Generally, human beings desire to become purified by either touching the demigods or taking bath in the Ganga. But what to speak of the demigods headed by Lord Brahma? Even the most sanctified Ganga, who emanates from the lotus feet of Vishnu, desires to become glorious by the touch of Mahabhagavat Paramahamsa Vaishnavacharya, Haridāsa Ṭhākura, who is the representative of all the demigods. Sparsher ki dai dekhile Haridas, chinde sarva jiver anadi karma pash. What to speak of his touch? Just by seeing Haridas, one is released from the bondage of fruitive activities. Gaudiya Bhashya. What to speak of touching Haridas? If one simply sees him, then all material bondage born of nescience from time immemorial is at once cut to pieces. Haridasa ashraya koribe je jan, tane dekhile okhande sangsara bandhan. Indeed, even if one sees a person who has taken shelter of Haridas, he is freed from material bondage. Gaudiya Bhashya. Even if a conditioned soul sees those who consider Namacharya Haridas as their spiritual master, he is released from all material bondage. Shatta varsha shatta mukhe uhana mahima, kohile onahi pari kori bare sima, bhagyavanta tomra she tomra sabha hoite, uhana mahima kichu ailo mukhete. If I glorify Haridas for 100 years with 100 mouths, I would still not reach the end of his glories. You are all fortunate, for because of you, I received an opportunity to glorify Haridas. Gaudiya Bhashya. The snake charmer, who is expert in controlling snakes, through mantra, he said, "All of you are very fortunate, for because of your inquiries, I was able to speak and reveal some of the glories of the Lord's devotee. If I sing the glories of the transcendental qualities of Thakur Haridas for 100 years with 100 mouths, I would not finish." Sakrije bolibeka Haridasa naam, satya satya sheho jai beka Krishna dham. I assure you that one who simply chants the name of Haridas without offense will certainly attain the abode of Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. If a person even once utters the transcendental name of Vaishnav Thakur Haridas, he will certainly go back to Godhead. Eta boli mona hoy lena nagaraj, tushta hoy len shuni Sajjana Samaj. After speaking in this way, the king of the snakes became silent, and all the pious people there felt fully satisfied. Heno Haridasa Thakurera Anubhav, Kohiya Achen Purve Shri Vaishnava Nag. Thus, the Vaishnav snake related the glories of Haridas Thakur to the snake charmer. Sabar parama priti Haridasa prati, nagamukhe shuni harashita hoilo ati. By hearing the snake's narration through the mouth of the snake charmer, all the people felt great affection for Haridas. Heno mate boisen Thakur Haridas, Kora Chandra na koren bhaktir prakash. Haridas Thakur passed his days in this way, before Gaurachandra manifested his devotional feelings. Gaurachandra, before he did the Bhakti Prakash, before he manifested Bhakti. Okay. All right, so that was that topic. Let's take a little break to watch this video now. Let me open it in the downloads. 1 second. Open with what? With VLC Media Player? Let's just do QuickTime Player. One second. So let's see this place where this is Pulia. This is Haridāsa Ṭhākura's bhajan written in Pulia. So this is where all these leelas happened that we've been reading about. Place of the venomous snake. This is the place of the venomous snake beside which Haridāsa Ṭhākura used to do bhajan. Okay, so this is the place. Thank you for that, Govinda Saha. There's some other videos, but I want to continue with the reading now. But yeah, that was really nice. Okay, so let's continue with the reading now. He namate boishena Ṭhākura. Okay, we just read that. Yeah. He namate boishena Ṭhākura Haridāsa Gaurachandra Nakorin Bhakti Prakash. Haridāsa Ṭhākura passes days in this way before Gaurachandra manifested his devotional feelings. Sarvadike Vishnu Bhakti Shunya Sarvajan Uddesho na jane ke ho ke mone kirtan. People throughout the world were devoid of devotional service to Lord Vishnu. They had no understanding of the meaning or goal of kirtan. Gaudiya Bhashya. The material enjoyers are always accustomed to forget Hari. Somehow or other they remain aloof from devotional service, which aims at remembrance of Hari, and they become intoxicated by their own sense gratification. At that time, people who were bewildered by Maya were fully engaged in gratifying their senses, and therefore they became devoid of devotion to Vishnu. No one could understand why Haridāsa Ṭhākura was performing Harinam Sankirtan and what his motive was, because at that time, Sri Gaurasundar had not yet begun propagating love and devotion to Sri Krishna. Kotau nahi ko Vishnu bhaktir prakash Vaishnavere shabe koroe parihas. There was no trace of devotional service to Vishnu anywhere. Everyone simply taunted the Vaishnavas. Parihas, they just made fun of the Vaishnavas. Gaudiya Bhashya. Due to the absence of discussing topics of Hari, people were devoid of devotion to Vishnu. So without understanding the exalted position of the Vaishnavas, people simply ridiculed them. Apana apani shab sadhub ganameli gayen Shri Krishna naam diya karatali. The devotees would meet together and chant the names of Krishna while clapping their hands. Tahate o dushtagan mahakroda kore pashandi meli balgi ay more. The miscreants became most indignant even at this. Those atheists would meet together to blaspheme the devotees. And they said, E bamuna gula raja kori bekanash. Ihashaba hoite hobe durbikha prakash. These brahmanas will destroy this country and bring about famine. Evamana gula shab magia kaite bhavuk kirtana kori nana chol pate. These brahmanas perform sentimental kirtan and play various tricks in order to beg alms. Gaudiya Bhashya. Although the devotees gave up bad association and gathered together to congregationally chant the names of Hari, the godless atheistic persons who were devoid of devotion to the Lord, they angrily ridiculed them as follows. They said, in order to fill their bellies and earn their livelihood, these loudly chanting Brahmins spread various deceptions and accept the dress of sentimentalists while chanting the names of Hari. They have no other business than filling their bellies on the pretext of religious performances. Because of their behavior, there'll be famine in this country, and in this way, they'll cause great harm to the world by introducing begging. Actually, attributing such false accusations on the devotees of the Lord will never bring any auspiciousness to the world. Rather, it will lead people to hell. The devotees engage in exalted service of the Lord by chanting his holy names. They do not partake of or enjoy the hard-earned wealth of ordinary people under the inducement of greed, or by giving indulgence to laziness born of ignorance. Rather, the wealth and ingredients that ordinary people accumulate for sense gratification are utilized by the devotees in the service of Hari for the eternal benefit of those persons. Goshair Shayana Varisha Chari Mas Ihate Kijujai Dakite Borod Dako. The Lord takes rest for 4 months during the rainy season, but these Brahmins loudly call him even at that time. Is it proper? Right, the beginning of Chaturmasya is Shayana Ekadashi, right? Where the Lord takes rest. And the very last Ekadashi of Chaturmasya is Uttana Ekadashi, when the Lord arises. So they say that the Lord takes rest for 4 months during the rainy season, but these loud Brahmins are waking him up. Is this proper? Gaudiya Bhashya. The atheistic smartas who were attached to fruitive activities used to say, Lord Vishnu takes rest during the 4 months of Chaturmasya. Therefore, no one should chant the names of Krishna during these 4 months, Shravan, Bhadra, Ashvin, and Karthik. If one chants the names of Krishna during this period, it will disturb the Lord by interrupting his yoga nidra. Therefore, if the Vaishnavas transgress the scriptural injunctions by loudly chanting the names of Hari during his sleep, the Lord will certainly become very angry and sends various tribulations, such as famine. Nidra bhanga hoile kruddha hoibe goshai durbikha koribe deshe ite dvidhanai. If the Lord's sleep is disturbed, he'll become angry and create a famine in this country. There is no doubt about it. Keho bole jodi dhanya kichu mulya chhare, tobe e gulare dhori kilai mu ghare. Someone said, if the price of rice increases, then I'll catch them and give them a punch. Keho bole ekadashi nishi jagarane, koribe govinda naam kori ucharane. Someone else said, on Ekadashi, these devotees stay up all night and chant the name of Govinda. Pratidin ucharan koriya kikai, ei rupe bole joto madhyastha samaj. What is the need for chanting the Lord's name every day? In this way, the atheist condemns the devotees in various ways. Gaudiya Bhashya. On the pretext of being indifferent, some fruitive workers used to say, there is no benefit in loudly and repeatedly chanting the names of the Lord every day. Since the living entities are bound by the fruits of their karma, since the living entities are bound by the fruits of their karma, and since the Supreme Lord is also under the subordination of karma, the living entities who are forced to enjoy the fruits of their karma simply increase their bile secretion by chanting the names of the Lord. In this way, middle-class people who are neither devotees nor non-devotees put forth such arguments and useless talk. Dukkapaya shuniya shakal bhaktagan tathapi na chhade keho hari sankirtan. The devotees all felt aggrieved on hearing these things, yet none of them gave up chanting the names of Lord Hari. Bhakti joge loker dekhiya anadar, Haridāsa o dukha boro payen antar. Haridas was particularly aggrieved to see the people's lack of interest in the process of devotional service. Gaudiya Bhashya. Attempts to serve the Supreme Lord on the pretext of ulterior desires, karma, yoga, or gyan, or to act contrary to the service of the Supreme Lord, can never be called devotional service. But people of the world at that time were all overwhelmed by such non-devotional considerations. Physical and mental propensities kept the conditioned souls away from the path of devotional service and concealed the shining glories of pure devotional service. Seeing such detrimental propensities in the materialists, Thakur Haridas felt great distress at heart. Tatapiha Haridasa uchai swara kori, bolen prabhur sankirtana mukha bhori. In spite of this, Haridas continued to loudly chant the holy names of the Lord. Ihate o atyanta duskriti papigan, na pare shunite ucha hari sankirtan. The most sinful miscreants were even unable to hear. They were even unable to hear this loud chanting. Gaudiya Bhashya. Due to their sinful propensities, people did not wish to hear the uninterrupted and unmotivated chanting of the names of Hari from the mouth of Haridāsa Ṭhākura. Actually, only unfortunate people develop such sinful and inauspicious propensities. But Haridāsa Ṭhākura is a non-duplicitous servant of the Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, and he is devoid of all fear born of material absorption. Even after facing various impediments and obstacles from the sinful people, he did not desist from Hari Sankirtan. Hari Nadi Grame Eka Brahmana Durjan, Hari Dasa Dekhi Krodhe Boloye Bachan. In this regard, there was one pious Brahmana who lived in the village of Hari Nadi. He once angrily said to Haridas, what did he say? Gaudiya Bhashya. Well, first let's see the Gaudiya Bhashya. There are two methods for ascertaining one's varna. One is by seminal consideration. According to normal procedure, the varna of a child is the same as the varna of his legitimate father, because he is born from his semen. And the second is to ascertain one's varna according to his occupation, which is determined by his qualities and activities, his guna and karma. The nature of people is of two types, pious and sinful. Vaishnavas who are engaged in the service of the Lord are pious, and proud persons who are averse to the Lord and devoid of good qualities are sinful, though they may belong to any one of the varnas. Although one may be identified as a Brahmana according to seminal consideration, as a result of being envious to pious persons, he is considered sinful. Whenever envy is directed towards Vishnu, the devotional service of Vishnu, or the devotees of Vishnu, then due to such demoniac propensities, even respected so-called Brahmanas are designated as sinful by the pious. At that time, there is a famous village named Harinadhi in the district of Yashohar. On seeing Haridas loudly and constantly chant the holy names, a local seminal Brahmana who was envious of devotional service, he angrily put forward some false arguments. What did he say? He said, "Oye Haridasa e ki vyabhar tomar, dakiya je naam loho ki hetu ihar." "Oh Haridas, what is this behavior? Why are you loudly chanting the names of the Lord?" Gaudiya Bhashya. The foolish, ignorant, atheistic, fallen Brahmana said, "There is no injunction for loudly chanting the names of Hari in any scripture. Rather, it is recommended that one chants within his mind. Therefore, the loud chanting of Hari's names by Haridas, this loud chanting of Hari's names by Haridas is prohibited in the scriptures. Therefore, his engagement in such activities is most improper." Being controlled by such blind faith, that Brahman arrogantly asked Haridas for the reason for his loud chanting. His conception was that since Haridāsa Ṭhākura was not born in a seminal Brahmin family, he was completely unqualified to act as a spiritual master, the giver of the holy names. He feared that if Haridas loudly chanted the names of Hari, he would have to automatically hear the holy names from the mouth of a pure devotee and thus naturally become his disciple. So, he wanted Haridas to refrain from loudly chanting Harinam, which is the function of a Jagat Guru. This proves that the Brahman's foolishness, ignorance, and mistaken ideas regarding the scriptural conclusions. Yes, this proves his bad qualities. Okay, I am going to stand up now. Mane mane japiba eshe dharma hoy dadiya loite nam kono shastre koi. The injunction is that one should chant in his mind. Oops. Which scripture says that one should chant loudly? One second, just moving up my mouse. No, Rini. Which scripture says that one should chant loudly? Karshika harinam dakiya loite eto pandita sabha boloho ihate. Who has taught you to chant the name of Hari loudly? Please give your explanation before this assembly of learned scholars. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word shiksha refers to one of the 6 corollaries of the Vedas, by which word pronunciation is regulated. Haridāsa bolen Haridāsa bolen ihar jata tattva tomra she jano hari namer mahatva. Tomra she jano hari namer mahatva. Haridas said, you all know the glories of Lord Hari's holy names. Tomra sabar mukhe shuniya she ami boli techi boli baya jeba kichu jani. Therefore, I have simply repeated and will repeat whatever I have heard from you. Gaudiya Bhashya. Thakur Haridas, who never expected any honor but always honored others, humbly replied, I have not learned the incomparable glories of Hari's names from the Shastras through the path of argument. Now and in the future, I simply repeat whatever I have heard from those who are conversant with the glories of the holy names and who constantly chant the holy names of the Lord. Uccha kori loile shataguna punya hoy doshato na kohe shastre guna she varnan. Haridas continues, if one chants loudly, he gets 100 times more benefit. The scriptures never condemn loud chanting. Rather, they glorify it. Gaudiya Bhashya. The result one achieves by mentally chanting the names of Hari is multiplied 100 times by chanting loudly. This is the injunction of all scriptures. It is a fact that by chanting loudly, one obtains 100 times greater results. And there is no fault in such chanting. It is to be understood that those who consider the Hare Krishna Mahamantra those who consider that the Mahamantra should only be chanted softly in japa are averse to realizing the purport of the scriptures. The three names of address, Hare, Krishna, and Ram, are meant both for japa and for kirtan. One can call the Lord in his mind or out loud. If one calls the Lord loudly, then many persons can hear the name of the Lord and obtain auspiciousness by such chanting. Hearing the names of the Lord is one of the 9 principal limbs of devotional service. Unless the sadhus loudly chant the names of Hari, no one becomes qualified for the devotional process of hearing. Oh wow, that's an interesting point. Unless the sadhus loudly chant the names of Hari, no one becomes qualified for the devotional process of hearing, of Shravanam. Therefore, the false arguments of those who are averse to loud chanting are certainly incited by Kali. The chanting of the holy names is more or less imperceptible in the activities of meditation, sacrifice, and deity worship. That is why, in Kali Yuga, various controversies arise in the performance of meditation, sacrifice, and deity worship. When those who are victims of Kali come forward to place obstacles in the path of the devotees' worship of Hari, then those devotees who are engaged in the Satya, Treta, and Dwapar processes of meditation, sacrifice, and deity worship do not enter into argument. But those devotees who chant the names of Hari remove the wicked habits of the victims of Kali and chant the unlimited glories of the holy names for the eternal benefit of such people. This is the actual medicine for their argument-infected hearts. Uchai shata gunam bhavet. If one chants the holy names of the Lord, he obtains 100 times more benefit than by chanting softly or remembering the holy names. That's from the scriptures. Vipra bole uchanam korile uchar shataguna punya phal hoy ki hetu ihar. The Brahmana said, how does one get 100 times more benefit by loud chanting? Haridasa bolen shunoho mahashay je tattva ihar vede bhagavate koi. Haridas replied, my dear sir, listen to the verdict of the Vedas and Srimad Bhagavatam in this regard. Sarva Shastra Spure Haridaser Shimukhe Lagila korite vyakhya Krishnananda sukhe. Haridas then reveals the purport of all the scriptures as he began his explanation in the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. Shuno vipra sakrit shunile Krishna nam pashu pakhi kita jai Shri Vaikuntha dham. Listen, dear Brahmana, if even animals, birds, or insects hear the holy names from the mouth of a pure devotee, they will go to Vaikuntha. Gaudiya Bhashya. O Brahmana, when the transcendental sound of Krishna's holy names emanates from the mouths of sadhus, bhaktas, or Vaishnavas, and enters the ear holes of any living entity interested in serving the Lord, then that sound vibration certainly frees him from the bondage of Maya. The transcendental sound vibration removes the living entity's propensity for enjoyment and awakens their propensity for service to the Supreme Lord. Since unlike those of conditioned... Wait, I don't understand that sentence. Since unlike those of conditioned souls in the material sky, there is no ignorance or material enjoyment in the devotees' tongues, which are abodes of Vaikuntha. And since the transcendental holy names are full manifestations of Advai Gyan, or the transcendental reality, devotees do not become entangled in material enjoyment while chanting. Seems like there's a word missing here. Anyways. Therefore, if a living entity chants the transcendental name of the Lord, he becomes Jivan Mukta, liberated even in this life. In order to become liberated from the bondage of material existence, a conditioned soul should accept mercy from a liberated soul by accepting mantra diksha, or initiation. When one has perfected his chanting, he becomes qualified to loudly chant the holy names. He then becomes extremely distressed on seeing the conditioned soul's anarthas born of prajalpa and mundane words that glorify the mind, both of which are unrelated to Krishna. As a Jagat Guru, he removes their propensities for mundane enjoyment and sends them to the kingdom of Vaikuntha. Ordinary foolish people think the Shastric statement that just by once chanting or hearing the transcendental name of the Lord, one is certain to go back to Vaikuntha is simply an exaggeration. So ordinary people think that it's just an exaggeration, all these glories. But actually, the extraordinary influence of the transcendental name is not under the jurisdiction of the most tiny brains of such illusions materialists who want to measure everything with their blunt material senses. If one considers the transcendental name to be in the category of material objects, then his enjoyment-prone evil propensities do not allow him to understand the extraordinary, transcendental spiritual name that is not perceivable to material senses. That is why the absence of faith in the Vedas or in Vaishnava literatures in pursuance of the Vedas, absence of faith in these scriptures is proof of a living entity's misfortune. Okay, now text 279. Let's make this big. Once, this is a note before the verse. Once the cowherd men headed by Sri Nanda came to Ambikavan on the bank of the river Saraswati. After worshipping the demigods and brahmanas with a vow, they took rest there. At that time, a fierce-looking great snake began to swallow Nanda. Hearing Nanda's cry of distress, Lord Krishna, who maintains his surrendered souls and who is affectionate to his father, touched that great snake with his left foot. The serpent was immediately freed from his reptilian body and appeared in the effulgent form of a Vidyadhara, and by the order of the Lord, he began to relate the history of his sinful activities in his previous life. While offering prayers, he described the glories of receiving the touch of the Lord's lotus feet, which are rarely attained by the demigods. He described this in the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:34-17. Okay. Yanama grinan akilan shotrin atmanameva cha sadya punati kim bhuyas tasya sprishta padahite. Okay, so while offering prayers, he described the glories of receiving the touch of the Lord's lotus feet, which are rarely attained by the demigods, in this following verse. Maharaj Nanda said, anyone who chants your name purifies all who hear his chanting, as well as himself. How much more beneficial, then, is the touch of your lotus feet? Oh, sorry, this is the reptile that was trying to swallow Nanda when he was liberated in his form as a Vidyadhara. He glorified with this verse. Anyone who chants your name purifies all who hear his chanting, as well as himself. So how much more beneficial, then, is the touch of your lotus feet? Okay. Oh, and Kishore shared something in the chat. Let's just see that really quick. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul awakens to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified, and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. Nice. Where is that from, Kishore? Okay, Gaudiya Bhashya. Moreover, O Lord, I have been directly touched by your lotus feet. Now I will return to my own planet and purify everyone by my touch, as I have been purified by the touch of your lotus feet. By the statement, by once chanting the holy names of the Lord, a person purifies himself and others, the argument that chanting the holy names requires prior faith, in other words, the consideration that until knowledge of one's relationship with the Lord based on faith is awakened, there is no need to chant the holy names, that idea is refuted. One can and should chant the names of the Lord while avoiding the 10 offenses, even during the 4 faithless situations of Sankit, indirectly, Parihas, jokingly, Stova, as musical entertainment, or Hela, neglectfully. By using the verb grinan, which means while chanting, in its present tense, the argument that the names are dependent on completeness, in other words, the necessity of considering that until one is able to fully chant the names of the Lord, it is improper and useless to partially chant the names, that idea is refuted. This means that one can and should chant the names of the Lord even unclearly, improperly, and incompletely or partially. By using the word akilan, or to the audience, the argument that chanting is dependent on qualification, in other words, the necessity of achieving mundane temporary external qualifications like taking bath, performing austerity, worshipping the deity, maintaining purity, studying the Vedas, accepting sannyas, practicing yoga, performing sacrifice, and accumulating piety, this idea that chanting is dependent on such qualifications is refuted. In other words, any person in any condition can and should chant the holy names of the Lord. These are really long sentences. Look, this is all one sentence. Okay. By using the word sadhya, or immediately, the argument that chanting is dependent on time, in other words, the consideration that one is purified by chanting only at particular times, not at any time, that idea is refuted. In other words, if a person purely chants the holy names at any time, he can be fully purified. The use of the word shrotrin, or to the audience, indicates that one should hear the holy names of the Lord. The word eva, which in this verse bears the meaning of eva or api, indicates that the chanter of the holy name can purify the audience like himself. So by this example, the glories of the holy name are further enhanced, because the practices of both hearing and chanting yield the same results. By using the word cha in this verse, it is indicated that I will certainly and thoroughly purify persons who engage with me in hearing. So by using the word cha in this verse, it is indicated, he's saying that I will certainly and thoroughly purify persons who engage with me in hearing and chanting, because I have been touched by your lotus feet. There is no doubt about this. This was all from Sanatana Goswami's and Jiva Goswami's, Jiva Prabhu's Vaishnav Toshini. Haridāsa Ṭhākura continues. Pashupaki kita adi bolite na pare, shunile harinama tara sabatare. Tore. Sorry. That should be. Anyways. Although animals, birds, and insects cannot chant, when they hear the holy names, they will all be delivered. Jopile Shri Krishna nam apane shetore, ucha sankirtana poro upakara kore. If one silently chants the names of Krishna, then he is delivered. But if one loudly chants, then he delivers others also. Gaudiya Bhashya. One who softly chants the transcendental names benefits only himself, whereas one who loudly and congregationally chants the transcendental names can benefit the audience along with himself. Only a spiritual master who's engaged in Krishna Kirtan is compassionate to all living entities and able to perform the highest welfare activities for all. Last two verses. Ataeva uchakori kirtana korile, shataguna phal hoy sarva shastre bole. Therefore, the scriptures say that one gets 100 times more benefit by chanting loudly. Japato harinamani stani shatagunadhika, atmanam cha punatyuchar, japan shotrin punaticha. One who chants loudly the holy names of the Lord is 100 times greater than one who silently chants, because those who chant silently purify only themselves, while those who chant loudly purify themselves as well as those who hear them. That's Gaudiya Bhashya. This verse was spoken by Prahlad Maharaj in the Naradiya Puran. So that's our reading for today. Let's just see. Let's just read some of the translations. The Puranas say that a person who chants the Lord's name loudly is 100 times more pious than the person who chants to himself. O Brahmana, Haridāsa Ṭhākura is saying, O Brahmana, listen carefully to the reason behind this. One who softly chants the holy names liberates only himself. One who loudly chants the names of Govinda, however, liberates himself along with all living entities who hear them. Although all living entities have a tongue, only human beings are able to chant the names of Krishna. Except parrots are able to chant Krishna's names. Tell me, what is wrong with that activity by which living entities who have taken useless births will be delivered? One person may maintain himself, while another may maintain 1,000 people. Of the two, consider carefully who is better. This is a superior characteristic of loud chanting. After hearing the words of Haridas, the Brahman began to angrily blaspheme him. He said, "Now even Haridas has become a philosopher. I can see that Vedic culture is being destroyed by the course of time. It is stated that Shudras will explain the Vedas at the end of Kali Yuga, but why only at the end of the age? We can see it happening now." My God, that's a long commentary. This is how you advertise yourself so you can eat nicely at others' houses. If the explanation you have made is not true, then I will cut off your nose and ears. Hearing the words of that sinful Brahmana, Haridas smiled and chanted the name of Hari. He did not speak further to that atheistic Brahmana, but left immediately while loudly chanting the holy names. The sinful members of that assembly were all wicked-minded. They neither supported the authorized statements of Haridas, nor did they protest the offensive words of the Brahmana. They were all Brahmanas in name only. Actually, they were all demons, fit to be punished by Yamaraj. In Kali Yuga, demons are born in the families of Brahmanas in order to harass the saintly persons. There's that verse in the Varaha Purana that says that. The scriptures forbid one from touching, speaking to, or offering respects to such Brahmanas. And then it gives So within a few days, that wretched Brahmana was attacked by smallpox, and as a result, his nose melted away and fell off. The punishment he had proposed for Haridāsa Ṭhākura was awarded to himself by Krishna. Aggrieved to see the entire world absorbed in sense gratification, Haridāsa would sigh deeply as he chanted the name of Krishna. So we'll read this all tomorrow. After a few days, Haridāsa went to Navadvip with a desire to associate with the Vaishnavas there. All the devotees of Navadvip were overjoyed on seeing Haridāsa. Upon obtaining the association of Haridāsa, Advaita Acharya treated him as dear as his own life. All the Vaishnavas showered their affection on Haridāsa, and he reciprocated with great devotion. They discussed amongst themselves the burning, offensive statements of the atheists. Then devotees constantly discussed with each other the topics of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. One who reads or hears these topics will attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Gaurachandra. Accepting Śrī Caitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. So we will read all that, all the commentaries, because there are lots of commentaries there, tomorrow. But that's the end of this chapter. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Ishwar, would you like to do Jaidvani?
जय सुप्रकार शेषी गुरु गौरंग धन हरि विकार गिरिर हरि रार विनोद बिहरि रार नायनाथ राज रमन बिहरि रार मारव शेषे रार हबल जीव की जाय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार परमहंस प्रिय ब्रजचार्य वर्य अष्टोत्तरशत शिष्यमान भक्ति विज्ञान भारती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार परमहंस प्रिय ब्रजचार्य वर्य अष्टोत्तरशत शिष्यमान जगत गुरु शिल भक्ति विरांड नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज पतित पावन शिल गुरुदेव की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रशत शिष्यमान भक्तिविरान शिल त्रिविक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रशत शिष्यमान भक्ति बल्लभ तीर्थ गोस्वामी महाराज की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रशत शिष्यमान भक्तिविरान शिल वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रशत शिष्यमान एसी भक्तिविरान स्वामी गोस्वामी महाराज जगद्गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रशत शिष्यमान भक्ति दयिता माधव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रशत शिष्यमान भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज परम गुरुदेव आचार्य केसरी की जय कृति रत्न शिलाचार्य केसरी की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद स्तोत्रशत शिष्यमान जगद्गुरु श्री वर्षभानवि देवी दयितदास शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय स्वाप्रकाश शिल प्रभुपाद भक्ति सरान सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर की जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद महापरम भगवत परवार परमहंस शिष्यमान गौर किशोर दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद आर अष्टोत्तरशत शिष्यमान सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर महाशय सप्तम गोस्वामी की जय जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सर्वम अष्टोत्तरशत शिष्यमान जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय सुरकुंदवासी सिद्धहर शिलमद सुरदास बाबूजी महाराज की जय श्रील उद्धवदास उदरान दास की जय गौरविरान आचार्य शिशिल बलदेव विभूषण प्रभु की जय महामहोपाध्याय रसिकशिरोमणि शिशिल वैष्णव चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर पार की जय शिल रसिकानंद मुरारी प्रभु की जय शिल रामचंद्र कविराज की जय शिलोचन दास ठाकुर की जय शिल नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर कुर्मशाय श्रीनिवासाचार्य श्यामानंद पंडित प्रभुतराय की जय शिल कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय व्यस अवतार अरिका विशल वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय श्री अष्टकविराज वसुर जानव नित्यानंद दुरुष गोपाल श्री चौषति महंत की जय। जय श्री रूप श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ सर्गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर रॉय रमानंद लोकनाथ भूगर्भ अदि गौर परिषद वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रील ईश्वरपुरी देव गोस्वामी पाद की जय। श्रील माधवेंद्र पुरी देव गोस्वामी पाद की जय। श्री अंडरद्वीप मायापुर सीमांद्वीप गौतमद्वीप मध्यद्वीप कलुद्वीप ऋतुद्वीप जानुद्वीप माधुरुद्रमाद्वीप रुद्रद्वीप मात्मका श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री एक चक्र धाम की जय। श्री शांतिपुर धाम की जय। श्री गौर चंद्र भगवान की जय। हरिदास प्राण श्री सचिनंदन गौर हरि की जय। शेषे राधा कृष्ण गोपिनाथ गोपी गोपा गो गिरि गोवर्धन द्वार षड्वनात्मक श्री ब्रज मंडल धाम की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गंग सखी यामन सखी तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। वृषभानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा रानी ठाकुरानी की जय। स्वामिनी श्रीमती राधिका महारानी की जय। श्री ललिता विशाखा चित्रा चंपकलत तुंग विद्या इंदुलेखा रंग देवी सुदेवी अरि सखी वृंद की जय। श्री आनंद प्रेम मंजलाल श्री रूप लवंग राग विलस गुणरति कस्तूरी अरि मंजारी वृंद की जय। श्री कमल मंजरी देवी की जय। श्री नयन मणि मंजरी देवी की जय। श्रीमती वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भगवती पूर्णमासी योगमाय देवी की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर श्री शिव महादेव की जय। श्री राधा पनंकित धाम श्री धाम वृंदावन की जय। जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र नीलमाधव जी की जय। श्री जगन्नाथपुरी पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र मंडल नीलाचल धाम की जय। सर्व विघ्न विनाशन कुरे भक्त विघ्न विनाश श्री नृसिंह देव की जय। भक्तराज भक्त प्रवर शिवलाल महाराज की जय। शिवलाल लक्ष्मी नरसिंह देव की जय। श्री चरिराम चरि संप्रदाय चर्याचार्य की जय। श्री मध्वार मनोज विष्णु स्वामी नंबदित्य चर्याचार्य की जय। आकर्मतरा श्री चैतन्य माद की जय। श्री गौरी मद वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भगवताम भगवद गीता चैतन्य चरितामृत चैतन्य भगवत जैव धर्म अदि सर्व गौरी वैष्णव ग्रंथ वृंद की जय। त्रिभुवन मंगल श्री हरिनाम प्रभु की जय। त्रिभुवन मंगल श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन युग धर्म की जय। त्रिभुवन मंगल धन्य कलयुग तरक ब्रह्म श्री हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे महामंत्र की जय। श्री अनंत गुरु वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री समकट गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री चैतन्य भगवत की जय। श्रील वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्रील नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद गौरी वश्य की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम वृंदायै तुलसी देव्यै प्रिययै केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna. Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Kishore Prabhu, Champak Didi, Subhadra Didi. And 1 second, let me just see. Oh, there. Okay. Sorry. Vrinda Didi, Ganga Mataji, Sudevi Didi, Govinda Saha, and Amit Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Hare Krishna. And everybody else. I see there's more people watching, so pranams to all of you. Kishore Prabhu, or Nri Hari Prabhu, or anybody, do you have anything that you want to say before we end for today?
Yes, but could we continue watching Govinda Sahaprabhu's videos?
Oh yeah. Okay. 1 second. Let me download them. Okay. Why don't you talk while they're downloading? Because it's going to take some time to download.
I was just gonna mention that how all the atheists were telling all the devotees that all of you are gonna cause a famine, and that reminded me of this that of this historical fact that even after Mahaprabhu's unmanifested his pastimes in Navadip, many of those atheists still had the same mentality. It actually got even worse first because they started banning the worship of Mahaprabhu, and they started saying that this is the worship of a man and that you cannot worship Mahaprabhu. And so the deity of Vishnupriya, so Vishnupriya Devi's deity, Dameshwar Mahaprabhu, it had to be taken underground. And so the Gaudiya Vaishnavas at that time, they would take the boga down into underground, and they would give the boga to Mahaprabhu, to Dameshwar Mahaprabhu. And so the Vaishnavas in Navadip, they kind of went undercover for some time. And this happened for a long time. This, like,
What
even
time
during
period
like,
was this?
I wish I could remember the exact time period, but it was during this time even Narottam Das Thakur didn't go to Navadip.
Okay,
So it was
it was during that
that
time.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, during that time. And like Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, and the other acharyas, they wouldn't go to Navadip. They would go to other places in Bengal and preach in other places in Bengal, but they avoided Navadip Dham at that time. And
Wow.
I forget, like, I don't forget, but I'm not sure of what happened afterwards and like everything that happened and all the details that unfolded. But there was one king at that time, and there was a famine at that time, and someone told the king, the famine is going on because a man is being worshipped as God. And so, they challenged, so the king's priest or whatever, not priests, but the ministers challenged the Vaishnavas. And one Vaishnav there, Totaram Das Babji Maharaj, Totaram, one exalted Vaishnav, Totaram Das Babji Maharaj, he composed that verse. Tota never associates with Godanagaris, Saki Bekis, Owl, Bowel, and all. That verse that Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, they're always quoting, that's coming from Totaram Das Babji Maharaj. And Totaram Das Babji Maharaj came forward and he presented many Shastric proofs that Mahaprabhu is Bhagavan, like Krishna Varanam Tisha Krishnam, Sangabanga Srvashadam Yagya Sankirtna Prayajanti Hisamedasa, and other verses, and proving that in Kali Yuga, one has to worship Sachidananda Gaurahari, and that the Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan. And so Totaram Das Babji Maharaj, he defeated everyone on all those atheists, and they re-established the worship of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata in Navadip.
So Totoram, I wonder, was he like just like he was around Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time? Like, was he a contemporary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or
I don't know. I
before
wish
that
I
time?
could know all the historical details of what happened. Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he talks about it. How Totaram Das Babji Maharaj defeated the atheists.
I'm just looking at these videos that Govinda Saha sent me, and it seems like this is the same video that we watched, just without the music and everything, like unedited. But we already saw it all, pretty much. Of Bulia. No, I mean, no, এখন কেউ নেই. Sorry. Yeah. It's just.
Did she ask?
Huh?
What did she
She's
ask?
just asking if somebody. She's asking if somebody was here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before?
Sorry, wait. Have I heard about
this history?
Well, I didn't know. No, I didn't know as much as what you said. No, but I did know that after Mahaprabhu's time, because like we read it in the beginning of Chaitanya-bhāgavata, that there was a big opposition to Nityananda Prabhu, right? And like we read about how Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he was like things are very antagonistic for him during that time, like, during his time. And but I didn't hear all the details like you mentioned. So that was, yeah, that was very interesting. I'd be interested to hear more also. I like historical stuff. Yeah. All right. So I guess that's all for today, and I'll see you all tomorrow for finishing like what we just read. We'll read all those commentaries for those verses that we went through at the end of this chapter, and then I think after that there's only one chapter left of this Ādi-khaṇḍa, and then we will continue with the Madhya-khaṇḍa. All right. Hare Krishna, everybody. Dandavat pranam. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
I was just gonna say Hare Krishna and mention that it's Vrindavan Das Thakur. He's also coming from a high class Brahmin family, so it adds some more strength to his words when he says in Kali Yuga demons take birth amongst Brahmin families.
Yes. Yeah, he's someone who can say that, and nobody can say, "Who are you to say that?" Yes. Yeah, good point.
He wouldn't identify himself with his mother's name. He would address himself as Narayani Sutta, that I am the son of Narayani Devi.
Yeah, was his father like not totally favorable?
I think he passed away early on,
When
and he
he's
didn't get the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he identified himself with his mother's line as Narayani Devi. Maybe like we sing every day, she had the personal darshan and food remnants of Mahaprabhu, prasad remnants of Mahaprabhu.
Yes.
I read somewhere where his father was kind of neutral.
Okay.
But he passed away early on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Jai Shri Radhe. See you all tomorrow.